that leads us to the next fight night. Now, on the more sympathetic side, and coming from me, this is amazing. Jake Shields' father passed away.
Yeah, that sucks.
He's going to be the headliner of this next fight, and he said, you know what, I'm going to continue to fight because that's what people want me to do. So, with that said, let's talk about UFC Fight Night. Shields versus Ellenberger, September 17th.
September 17th. That's actually, what, two weeks away.
Yeah.
The first fight is going to be Alan Belcher versus Jason McDonald. Okay? That was very appropriate because his name is Belcher.
Yeah.
You were on point with that shit,
I did it
man.
on purpose.
Damn, you got mad skills, son. Belcher versus McDonald. Belcher's had 8 wins by KO. 6 by submission and another 2 by decision. So he's pretty well rounded. You know what I'm saying?
I think he can. I think he can win this on his feet or on the ground.
Right.
His problem is McDonald likes the fights on the ground.
Yeah, and he likes it. I mean, almost all of his wins virtually have been by submission. So, I mean, you have to think that if this fight does go to the ground,
McDonald has the advantage.
yeah, McDonald's going to have the advantage. Now, with that being said,
Belcher's going to knock him out.
do you think Belcher's going to be able to knock him out?
I think Belcher, yeah, I mean, from what I remember about Belcher, watching him, he's an exciting guy. He's high energy, and I believe that he's going to come out there and throw punches, and I think he's going to catch McDonald.
He's going to catch him and stuff like this. What is Belcher's takedown like? I don't know.
I don't know either. But as long as he can defend his takedowns, who cares?
Right. Now, that's going to move us to the next event.
The winner of the Ultimate Fighter 12,
Jonathan Brookins,
decided to cut some weight.
Yeah. So when he was in Tough 12, which he won, he was fighting obviously as a lightweight, and then he had his debut in the UFC as a lightweight. He won that, and now I think probably one of the things we said about Brookins was like, this guy's incredible. He has a lot of upside, but the one thing that we thought he had to work on was his hands. We thought he needed to work on his stand-up game. And George back then, him and I were going back and forth. I'm like, Brookins is great. And George's like, well, it doesn't matter how great he is, Kevin. He needs to work on his hands. And one of the reasons you said that was because just all the studs in the lightweight division had incredible hands.
Frankie Edgar,
Yeah.
who you're high on.
Frankie Edgar,
Greg Maynard.
Now Henderson.
Ben Henderson.
I mean, all these guys are great.
They are-
Pettis.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all good.
That
have great hands.
The featherweight and the 145 and 155 classes in the UFC are phenomenal.
They're phenomenal. They're stacked.
And Brookins has a hell of an. If he wants to make it to the top, and he's young, so he's got a shot. But he's cutting down to 145. I want to see from him a much improved stand up. Jab, crosses, hooks, straights.
I don't think with this match he's going to fight Eric Koch. I mean, this is probably a good match for him. This guy's 12-1, only lost 1 fight, but he's a grappler.
Right.
So I mean, you're looking at a guy that's only lost 1 fight, who's a great grappler. He's probably going to go around. You're not going to see much stand up. I mean, or maybe you will. Maybe Brookins got in camp and all of a sudden he worked on stand up, and this is something he can bring to the table.
Both of these guys want to prove that they have some stand up.
Right.
Well, I'd like to see Brookins use his newfound stand up. I'm assuming to set up his ground game.
Right.
Like, look, I know I have a better ground game than you, but I'm going to beat the shit out of you with my hands to the point where you want to take me down, and then you'll go in to take me down, and I'll tap you out.
Now, I'm going to tell you what, he might have to do that because Koch, in the last 2 fights, he's had either a TKO or a KO.
Right.
And this last fucking fight, he had knockout of the night.
So
he might just come back and be like, you know what, I'm going to fucking try to drop this guy. I'm going to try to drop this guy. So
test his chin.
Now,
test his chin.
On to what I think is going to be the fight of the night is Court McGee, who I have the utmost respect for him and the camp he comes from, or the camp he's decided to work out along with, which is Hackelman out there in California.
Yeah. What is the name of the one in Is he in the location?
It's in Utah. It's like Pit Elevated or Pit,
Elevated Pit.
Yeah, or something like that to deal with the high altitude, which I think is smart.
Right.
If you're a fighter, dude, that's why I think Tito goes and trains in Big Bear.
Yeah.
Because of that elevation. Because that if you can train at high elevation, then it does, dude. You can fight on the fucking moon.
Yeah, it helps your cardiovascular. Crazy. Now McGee is 13-1.
Coming off an ACL injury.
He had the only loss he had in his career was to Jeremy Horn back when he was a little bit young, and that was 4 years ago. So he's a much improved fighter. I mean, you saw him in Tough. He was fucking nasty and tough. He's obviously in a great camp in Hackelman's camp.
He's got a heart and what I would like to see is just a little bit quicker of a start.
Right.
He tends to that first round maybe take too much damage to his head, a little more head movement, stop taking all them fucking punches. I'll be interested to see how his movement is, knowing what it's like to tear your ACL or have your ACL replaced and come back. Now, granted, he's an elite level athlete and I'm not.
Right.
But I'll be interested to see what his movement looks like.
Yeah.
Well, he'll definitely need it.
Right.
I mean, based on fighting Dong Yang, I mean that guy's going to come out and throw punches. He's going to throw.
Jimmy just looks at me.
Dong Yang.
He just looks at me with this big ass fucking Cheshire cat smile.
Because he likes dongs, dude.
He's like, now
I
this
get my toes
dong
painted, he
that he will be
paints
fighting.
This is not the dong that George and Kevin normally will talk about. This is not
that George and Kevin talk about dongs in an exciting manner. When we talk about dongs, it's strictly from a fighting perspective. No cockfighting, no dongs, but seriously. But this dong in particular, this dong in particular, Court, be on top of your game.
Yeah, definitely have some head movement.
Because you do not want to get bent over by the dong. We have said it several times. Now,
and what they're getting at is his dong is 10-1.
Yeah.
Dong Yang doesn't have a whole lot of UFC experience, so that should be interesting. But he's a stand-up guy, and he just wants.
I bet you the dong is a stand-up. You know, I mean,
he stands very
and he
straight.
is on a guy
popping those blue diamonds.
Right. You know, but he's probably like, hey, you know what? He's probably gonna come out with the plan to say, I'm gonna try to catch Court McGee, like you said.
And hopefully Court McGee catches him. Maybe that Chuck Liddell old school overhand right.
Right. But I mean, from his perspective, he's got nothing to lose. He's facing a guy, Court McGee, that's got some name recognition. Is won the Ultimate Fighter.
Yep.
So he's got nothing to lose. He's going to come out and throw his hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that's going to bring us to the main event, which is going to feature Ellenberger versus Shields. Ellenberger, is 25-5. Guy's got great stand up. I think we all.
Ellenberger.
Yeah, Ellenberger's got great stand up.
Jake Shields.
And he's had 16 wins by knockout, where we pretty much know in contrast, Shields is a BJJ guy.
Yeah, he's submission and decision.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where he's comfortable. I mean, Shields, obviously when he fought GSP,
that was some of the worst stand-up I've ever seen.
And I'll give him that. He said, this is what I'm going to try to do and stuff. But it's not his stronghold. I mean, his thing is getting you on the ground, and that's how he got Henderson in trouble. And the good fights that he's won against formidable opponents is taking him to the ground and wearing him out.
And this is his third fight at 170.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's got the weight cut down to the perfect thing. He's got his strength up. He's met with Freddie Roach. Bernard Hopkins, I watched the video, he's now starting to give tips on how to box.
That was a really good video, by the way,
right.
that he gave tips on.
And Bernard Hopkins, I think, was one of those guys who sat there and said, oh, MMA can't do this, blah, blah, blah. And now his tune's starting to change. Mm-hmm. He's gone to some of these events. He's met Rashad Evans, and he's like, wow. So maybe Bernard Hopkins, if Bernard Hopkins was
younger,
30, yeah, you might see him do something.
Right.
I think Bernard Hopkins, I think he's awesome, man. I mean, have the class belt at your age, the guy's fucking my age. You know what I'm saying? I can't even imagine fucking boxing 3 rounds, at least 12 against a world champion.
So with that said, Jake Shields needs that kind of help. His stand-up is not crisp, it's not sharp, it doesn't look fluid. He's a takedown guy, and he has what he calls it his American jiu-jitsu. He's always bucked the Brazilian. That he's come up with his own term, and he's good on the ground, and he needs to get this fight to the ground. So here's the other thing: I hope you watch some tape on GSP on how to perform a fucking double leg takedown, or even a shoot in on a single leg. Because even if shots look bad,
his takedown attempts against GSP, I don't know whether he was afraid of trying to take him down, but they didn't look good either.
And it's funny though, on the flip side of that, when you have somebody that's good, like I look at people when they used to try to take down Chuck Liddell, or even when Fabricio Verdun was trying to take down over him. When someone can stuff it or elude it, it can make you all of a sudden
look frustrating.
It gets frustrating. You get tired, But what I was saying about Bernard Hopkins is, seeing that he's getting older, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him start to come into some of these camps and teach people stand up. Yeah. You know what I mean? The guy is,
the things he was showing Rashad was smart, but the thing they were saying is the boxing up top is fine, but the leg positioning on boxing leaves you open for a lot of takedowns.
Yeah.
Because of the way your stance is. And look, I don't know enough about foot position and shit like that when it comes to guarding a takedown or leg kicks, because I figure with a leg kick, you just got to lift your leg up.
You saw
and
what
check
happened with James Toney and Randy Couture. He got taken down and it was a wrap. I mean, when you're boxing, your hands are up here.
And usually...
Well, in fairness to boxers, I think that James Toney, that was a half-ass effort that he made to actually do that fight. I think boxers if they truly gave it their all and trained in that way, would perform much better.
Right. Yeah, I think so. I agree.
How do you see this fight going?
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think it's gonna be knockout of the night. I think Jake Ellenberger is gonna knock him out.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had knockout of the night, maybe even fight of the night going in the middleweight bout. Not only do I see Ellenberger winning this, but this, this could lead up to Jake Shields getting cut.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was just thinking, to me, Jake Shields is on the downward. This is just my opinion. I think he's on the downward slope of his career.
Jake Shields needs to win this fight to stay in consideration for top 5. He loses this fight to Ellenberger, he slips. And slips far. He might slip his ass right out of the UFC.
I know that Dana is not high on GSP versus him challenging GSP again after that fight. Right. So he has to do something impressive in this fight and most likely another fight to even, like George said, to even get in line for that title shot.
Yeah, I mean it depends what his focus is. He's going through some rough times obviously right now. If he can take this, some people take it and they're like. It becomes obviously a distraction and you can't, and then some people just take it and it gives them new life. You know what I'm saying? They become completely focused. I think if that's the way he takes it, I think he'll beat Ellenberger. I'm going to go with Shields beating him in a decision.
You know this fight's 5 rounds.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with him. I think that if
it's going to be a decision,
25 minutes.
Wow.
Okay. I think it'll be a decision with Shields.
Man, if this fight goes 25 minutes, I'm good for the first round. Then I'll be snoring the rest of the way.
Yeah, I think it's going to. I'm thinking that he's going to wear him down. And it's going to end up being a.
So are we missing anything else in the world of MMA?
That is it, man. We're getting the fuck out of here because George has to be at a wetting rehearsal.
Not a wetting.
With his green ass toes.
Wedding.
Wedding.
Yeah, this isn't wetting.
You're not getting wet on?
No.
You know what I'm saying? You're not into that shit? I mean, you're dirty, motherfuckers.
Here I am with the golden
green
shower
toes
guys.